Hello, everyone. Welcome to Masterclass. We'll give it a few more moments while folks join us from all around our network and all around the world here for today's Masterclass. All right. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today for Masterclass. My name is Rebecca Mason. I'm the senior trainer with our global learning team here with Sotheby's International Realty. And it is my honor and privilege to introduce this topic today. It's one that is really a differentiator with our brand with Sotheby's International Realty. We have a global network, a presence of over 25,000 agents in 1,000 offices in 78 countries around the world. And we hear from our top producers all the time that a big part of their business is leveraging that global network and their feeder markets. So we have three experts joining us here today to talk about how they have done just that. I'm delighted to introduce Krissy Blake. Krissy comes to us from our Sotheby's International Realty office in Greenwich. Great to see you, Krissy. Brad Kimmelman is joining us from Russ, Lyon, Sotheby's International Realty. Brad AZ, as he is known. And finally, Andy Taylor is joining us from our Sotheby's International Realty offices in Canada. So to moderate our topic today, I have the one, the only, the ever dapper Robert Burns. So Robert, go ahead and take it away from there.
Rebecca, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the network you are. It's great to be here with you today for this fabulous topic. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about, the network, the power of the network, and really working your feeder market. So as Rebecca said, we've got a good panel, so let's dive right into it. I'd like to start with Krissy and just kind of give us a sense of where you are, what your market is like that you look after, how you got into the industry, and how you came to the brand. Need to unmute, please.
Sorry. Hi, I live in Greenwich, Connecticut, and we are 63,000 people, and I really don't serve anybody beyond the Greenwich market. It's busy enough. We are just outside of 35 miles out north of New York City. I got into the business when I had a lot of time on my hands. My mother was a realtor. I grew up with a single mother who was a realtor, so I understood the business. And when I had time on my hands and kids in school, I went into the business and I never looked back. So good. That's
terrific. Andy, how about you? Let's go next.
Absolutely. My name is Andy Taylor. I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, with Sotheby's International Realty Canada. I grew up in a family. My mother was a developer and my uncle was a developer. So some kids had Lego. I had construction sites to visit on a weekend basis and clean a few of those construction sites as well. I got into the sales part of real estate in 2004. And when Sotheby's came to Canada, I was one of 4 people to open our office here in Toronto. And the excitement began and business changed dramatically. So that's where we're at. I service the GTA, which is a greater Toronto area. Toronto market is one where we are the leading city of cranes in North America and maybe globally. I think today we have about 256 cranes going up in Toronto. So it's an exciting market, one from first-time buyers to large estates. And we do a great job and differentiate ourselves because of the referral network and the feeder markets that we have from any other brokerage in the city.
Terrific. Brad, fill us in.
Hey there, I'm Brad Kimmelman. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, by way of New York, New York. I grew up in New York, son of a cartoonist and animation director and high fashion photographer. I was a child actor, went into broadcast and film. I worked for Gray Advertising as a broadcast producer for a while. And in 2001, I threw it all away and went into real estate, and it was the best decision I ever made. It was a really great use of all of the skills that I had cultivated over the years, and it just worked for me. I'm my own advertising agency, my own sales team, my own everything. So it's been quite a ride.
Terrific. Well, let's start with the question: when did you realize the potential of a feeder market? And Andy, I want to go to you because we were just talking about that. Realizing the potential of feeder market. When did that happen for you? When was the epiphany?
Oh, well, the epiphany was certainly at the first G&E that I attended. It was in Boca Raton in 2008. I had arrived in the afternoon and hopped on the shuttle to the first evening event. Sitting there across from me was Leanne Taylor, and she's talking and she said, "You're a tailor, I'm a tailor. Wow, we got to get to know each other." And she was in Captiva as an agent there, and certainly the Florida market is definitely a feeder market for the Toronto and Canadian snowbirds. So that's where the relationship began 15 years ago. And it's grown ever since. So that was the first time I realized that, this is something different. I remember Mike Good said, Sotheby's is a gift. And I'll tell you, the network and the feeder markets are a gift to everybody and something that differentiates you.
Absolutely. So Krissy, how about you? When did feeder markets for you kind of pop?
I came over to Sotheby's in 2014, and I had never done a referral. I had people ask me for referrals, but I was at a boutique firm. And when I came over, I had a client who was he ran all the real estate for Omnicom, which is a very big company here. And he asked me for a recommendation or referral for Scottsdale, which is just over the line close to us in the Westchester County area. And it happened to be Brad Kimmelman happened to be the office manager there. I did not know him at the time. I was new. And I found someone through the office, an agent there. And it was a very successful transaction. My client, who had so many connections, was so pleased. And I was invited to a spec house. Back in the day, we couldn't sell anything in Westchester and Greenwich. Our market was it was terrible. So there was a failed spec house. Come on over. So they had a networking event, basically. I was invited. It was the first thing I ever attended. I met Brad there. Didn't remember it until 2 years ago when he came to visit. Came through town. We were talking. I said, "Oh my gosh, and now I remember you." I watched it. I literally thought, why am I going to this? Just get up, go. I went and I walked away with a few names, and it was a pleasant experience. And then, fast forward to meeting him, he came through Greenwich and said, just called. And I'm sure he called a number of agents, but we just went and had breakfast, and it's the circle is, it's a good, I don't know, it works. I guess.
And the breakfast was delicious too.
It was, and we had fun.
Well, what's really great about that is I called Krissy, was about 10 days ago. We had a conversation and we're talking about what the panel is going to be like. And then she said, "Oh, by the way, who else is on?" And I said, "Well, my friend Andy from Toronto, Sotheby's International Realty Canada, and my friend Brad Kimmelman from Russ, Lyon, Sotheby's International Realty." Oh, I know Brad. It was great. And
I know Andy.
It's terrific.
And I know Andy from a networking call early on about horses. So anyway,
that's brilliant. So, Brad, for you, when did you realize the potential of feeder markets?
It's funny because I came into Sotheby's International Realty as a manager. I was recruited at the downturn of the market in 2009 when things were just not well. And I actually was offered a job to manage. And I said, absolutely, I need to stop the, the carnage. It was amazing. As soon as I came in, I noticed there was a difference in the caliber of agents at Sotheby's International Realty. And I just started getting my feet wet managing people, which was really cool. And then I've been to every global networking event for Sotheby's International Realty from 2009 to today. And I never went in the capacity of being an agent trying to procure business. I went as a manager supporting my agents, buying them drinks and hoping they wouldn't leave when they came back. So it was, I heard about all this networking and I told my agents how important it was, but I really didn't understand it until I went to the GNE in Vancouver and as an agent for the first time and started talking to and networking with people and just, it wasn't, I call it networking, but it's really just building relationships. And when I came back from that experience, it was a completely different experience. And the phone rang. And my first referral was an agent who referred me my biggest, up until 2 months ago, the biggest deal I had ever done for $6 million. So that's when I realized that this was stronger than anything that I'd ever encountered before, and that I was going to focus on building those relationships and working my not only feeder markets but all the markets, because I'm now connected with the best people and the best agents that from all over the country, and it doesn't matter where they're coming from. I can pick up the phone and call so and so in Seattle, and she'll tell me who to use in Bangladesh.
You know, it's funny because my largest transaction up until the past year or two was one of my first referrals as well. So I think it's interesting, the opportunities that arise when you work on building the network, building your relationships, to what you said, Brad, and building trust with other agents to entrust you with their clients, which is important.
So Andy, could you just tell a little bit of the story of that first referral?
Yeah, certainly. It actually, it came, Ross was contacted by an agent in New York, and they had an important client of theirs looking in Toronto. They were originally from Toronto, but had lived overseas. It was going to be a pied-à-terre. And so Ross called me up, said, listen, I need your help. Again, this is when we were a fairly small office. I immediately connected with the agent, let them know that I would make their client a priority for myself. And it actually, I'll tell you, it's important to take these referrals or clients that other agents entrust with you, and really ensure that you treat all clients with the highest level of service and advice, but you have to make sure that these clients that other people entrust with you are given even better service, better advice, and sticking with it. Sometimes these referrals take a while to get to the finish line. That referral took about 3 years before they ended up purchasing a property. But they bought a $21 million pied-à-terre in Toronto. So, and that set a record in the Toronto market.
So that's a big foot.
That's a big, exactly. So that, I think the important thing there was be patient. Don't, some of these referrals, because they're from different markets, they may take a while to get to the finish line, but continue to give them the highest level of service and advice. I always say white glove service and the highest possible advice, because these are other agents entrusting a very important relationship with you.
So Krissy, you were nodding your head when Andy was saying these take time. So tell me.
So I got a referral from a Westchester agent. Again, we are very close. She is 15, 20 minutes away, but it's not my market. She trusts me with my market. We stay very, local and close. And she said, can you help this guy? He's, I know he just bought the summer rental, but I like them. They're nice. Can you just help them with the summer rental? And we don't make enough on our rentals. In New York City, they pay referrals on rentals, but we don't ask. I'm not making any money on this, but sure. So they looked at everything. They were so tough. They were in New York City and so picky. And I only say New York City in the sense that is there mold? Is there this in the water? They were afraid of so much because it was suburbia. So nothing happened the first summer. The second summer, I don't even know if it was the second summer, but all of a sudden, right before COVID, it turned out they finally took the plunge, rented something, and that was that. And it was just a summer rental, and then they extended it, and I thought nothing of it, and they ended up being the first to really jump in on a over $10 million, $11 million house. It was more than that, but to buy when everybody was frightened and frozen. They said, that's it. We never thought we'd leave New York City. And they give me so much business. They are so happy, so pleased. And they really were, the whole thing was going to be in Westchester. They were trying us. So anyway, you just stick with it, treat them, as Andy said, you treat them well and keep in contact. Don't go passive, check in. More than anything now, it's not the old school way where you take them around and then you leave them be and they come to you. There's so much connectivity now. You just need to keep checking in. How are you doing? And become friends. I usually become friends with my clients.
So it really is a relationship that you develop, and the downstream value far exceeds the original transaction.
Right.
That's what I'm hear you saying.
The other
Brad?
Right, Rob.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Robert, one thing that you mentioned, Krissy, and I think is very important to note, actually that client that was referred to me about 2 years later bought a smaller unit in the same building for her guests and kids to stay at. And of course, it was a nice surprise to the agent who referred that client because they just got another referral fee on that. I think it's very important to your point that, I always believe that those referrals, it's in perpetuity, and any business that comes through that client, that's a referral in turn from that agent. So you never know where that one referral can go to. It could turn into a lot more business, just like Krissy was mentioning.
So it's a good business decision. So Brad, let me go to you. I want to talk to you a little bit about how do we engage with our feeder markets?
Well, it's funny because when I spent the first 10 years at Sotheby's International Realty as a manager, and then I'm going on 4 years now in Scottsdale as an agent. And when I realized that this was my business model, I didn't realize how important it was to have gone to all of those G&Es and where I engaged with people for I really wasn't making connections because very few people call the office manager anymore for a referral. There's a connectivity throughout the network. And I just saw a question of that said that someone anonymously asked, wish there was a more streamlined process to do this, because I asked Brad, who told me to call Beth Laffey, and Beth Laffey is no longer in the role that she was in. So this was someone probably that I managed before, but it's all about connecting to people and just there's my feeder mark. The answer is after I realized all of this, I've now developed a way to keep in touch with the most important people, the people who are already on board and know, like, and trust me and know my experience and know what I can do. And those people go out from there, because what I'm learning is that people within this network really know each other. So someone in my feeder market that I don't know will ask someone who I do know in their market or outside of their market, someone they have a connection with, and will recommend me. And I'll get a phone call from someone that I absolutely don't know, who said, this one from Manhattan Beach told me to give you a call, that you're the guy. And that's because I'm in this, I work on my relationships with agents within the network. That is my focus when I'm not working on a deal or doing lead gen locally. But my business plan is primarily referrals from the Sotheby's International Realty Network. So it's all about, for me, it's all about connecting, staying in contact, gifting. I have a gifting program through my business that I just will reach out and send a gift to an agent who just had a baby, or an agent who just got a dog, and I'll send a blanket with the dog's name on it. And oh, Krissy, I did that for you. So I'm not lying.
Too funny.
And yeah, it's wow. Well, check. I never got a blanket. It just works, and it also makes the connection. Like my people now are friends. My Sotheby's connections are friends, and over time, I just went to New York to just hang out with Angie Riedel from Knoxville, Tennessee, and Robert Rutley from Providence. And we went to Kevin Brown's birthday party. It was like, and I enjoy myself. It's not work to me. I'm going around seeing incredible people, spending time with people who do what I do in different markets, and we share ideas, and then I come home and I do what I do. And I don't know if I've answered your question, but I get really excited about it.
Well, to an extent you have, which is why we're going to go to Krissy next. So she can fill in the blanks on how do you engage with your feeder markets?
Oh, I engage. It's been hard. It's been hard in the last 2 years for me. I've never been so busy, like everybody else. But we had a lot of inventory to sell because we couldn't sell anything here for the longest time, which is why I think Brad went into management in Scottsdale at the time. But
Exactly why.
it was bad. So the good thing was we had a lot to sell. It was hard to travel. So Zooms, but a lot of phone calls. I did a lot more phone calls. I do try to show up at as many of the networking events as I can. Definitely do global networking, GNE, but the smaller events can be better because they're smaller, and I shouldn't say better, they're different, but they're great. And I pick up the phone, just checking in. How are you? And what's going on in your market? I was just texting with somebody this morning. What's going on in Florida? Because we're transitioning here. Go ahead.
So I was going to tell me, why do you want to know what's going on in Florida? You're in Greenwich, Connecticut.
Well, because we go back and forth, right? Our clients are, I have clients who can't buy in Florida. I sold their big house, and they got all this money, and now it costs the same amount to buy a horrible house in town that's 1,400 square feet or something. So they're frustrated. They're trying to buy in Florida. So is it getting better down there? Can I give them back to you? But I'm being facetious and exaggerating, but it does matter what is going on in the rest of the country or the world. I can share that with my clients.
Yeah, you take that information about Florida and share it with your clients in Greenwich.
Absolutely.
Who are either Florida part of the year or thinking about going to Florida, making that transition. Mm-hmm. That information is really critically important.
Or
Andy,
my frustrated sellers here. So we're now all of a sudden we're not everything's getting multiple bids. They're having to wait, reduce the price, and this is just in the last 2 weeks. But all of a sudden there's a switch. So I can say it's happening. It's happening in this market. It's not just here. It's not just you. It's not just your house, and it comforts, or give some more information.
So it's helpful to have a global perspective.
Yes, correct.
Understanding, and that's one of the things that I've enjoyed about the network, and I get to work in New York and New England and all across Canada. I was on a call with the team in Toronto last week. They were talking about what was happening in the market there, and the question they wanted to know was, are we special, or is this happening everywhere else? And I said, yes, you are special, but it is happening everywhere else. So Andy, could you tell me the Yellowstone story you told me this morning? Can we share that with the group?
I certainly can. I think it's one of the things we have to remember is that looking to other markets like Florida and looking for information is a reason to introduce your other partners. And, I came across a situation where we were working with a family office. The head of the family office called me and said, listen, one of our clients is looking to buy property in Yellowstone development. They're dealing with the developer. I don't know much about the development. I don't know if they're paying the correct price. I need some help and some guidance and some advice. And so I said, listen, absolutely not an issue. We have a great partner there in Big Sky. Let me get her on the line and see if we can address some of your concerns. So within half an hour, I was able to connect with our partner in Big Sky. I said, listen, there might not be a deal here, but if you can help provide advice to this very important center of influence, you never know what happens down the road. And she said, absolutely. I know the development well. They don't deal with agents, but I've done business in development. I know what values are. Be happy to get on the phone. I immediately conferenced the family office in with her. And within about an hour discussion, she was very gracious to give up her time. They felt comfortable proceeding with a $70 million purchase. I think the big part of this story is this agent did not get that, did not get a part of that sale, but she's now the advisor for that client. And so down the road, when the time comes, you can believe that they'll be looking to her again for advice when it comes to time to sell that property. What it did for me was that center of influence, which is a very important center of influence with the family office, said, Andy, this is the type of advice and service that I need for my clients. And it was a home run for me. So I think we have to look at our network, not just as one where it's a potential for referrals, but it's a potential to provide a higher level of advice than any of our competitors. And I'll tell you, I've talked with a number of the leading agents in the Toronto market, and Sotheby's is the only, and these are agents with huge level clients. They don't look at doing business outside of Toronto. This is a huge differentiator between myself and them when it comes to my business. So
let's go further down that trail, because conversation we were having earlier, you were talking about bringing in your feeder market agents in your presentations with sellers in Toronto.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
I think we have to realize what an incredible strength we have when it comes not just to looking to work with our agents on a referral basis to refer business either as a buyer or help others with listings and clients who require to sell the property. I really feel that my network that I've developed in the different feeder markets, for Toronto, I would say it's a New York, it's a Naples, it's a LA, a Palo Alto, Vancouver. And what I do is I include my partners in those markets that I've developed relationships with in my listing presentation. And I talk to them about, hey, listen, I've got this incredible property. I can now put it out to the different markets that, and have, my partner in New York market it out to her database and work on it just like a listing that she would have. I can put it out to LA. There's no other agent in Toronto who can say that. And so I'm proud when I put that listing presentation, I can talk about the network. Not only does it help me gain the listing that I'm presenting on or pitching on, but it starts that conversation. Really, you have partners in these other markets, bringing up other, my partners in daily conversations with people is a huge way that I find new opportunities to refer and work with partners in different markets in the Sotheby's network. I'll bring up, Nikki in New York. Someone will talk about being in New York. I say, oh, well, I just was talking with Nikki about the market there, and this is what's going on. He said, oh, really? You work in the New York market? Absolutely. And I can, be happy to connect you with Nikki or any of her team. Same with down in Florida. Whenever I see an opportunity to talk about a partner, regardless, I bring them up. It shows that we work together on a regular basis, and it develops questions by that person I'm talking with about our ability at Sotheby's to really be the private banker of their real estate and manage their global assets, their residential assets. So I think thinking of using your partners in conversations is very important. Excuse me. I apologize. Is very important outside of looking at opportunities to refer business. And I'll tell you, it's won me a large number of our recent listing presentations, and from smaller properties to larger properties.
Brad, you're nodding your head, and with that smile, I know you've got some input.
No, including other agents, that actually is like the secret sauce. But developing those relationships is the hard part. And that's where the last 4 years of my life have gone into, is really focused on developing the relationships with some of the best people in the business all over the country. And once you make those connections, you have no problem just picking up the phone. If someone's like right now, I just got a referral from someone in Chicago, and they're selling their home in Chicago and they're buying here. And when they sell and for how much determines what they will be able to buy here. Or if they don't sell, it's going to change the type of property that they're coming to. So having the ability to just pick up the phone and collaborate with that person, you're no longer just a single agent. You're an agent in your market with a team of people who may not get anything for helping out, or won't get anything, financially for helping out on this particular deal, but we support each other. And when they need me, I'm there. And it's so unbelievably compelling to the client that, you're not just a local agent, with local connections. When I'm in a listing presentation, even if I don't call anyone for backup during the listing presentation, I will say I've got this person here and this person there, and all the feeder markets, and I've got and when I market your property, I will be sending your property out to my entire sphere all over the globe, because you don't know where your buyer is coming from. And it's one thing to be a local agent, put something on the MLS and have it populate the Zillow, but it's a different experience for the client, for the consumer, to have someone who's invested all over the world, or mostly the country, but all over the world.
Good. So let's sort of go back to the beginning of that story and kind of really get granular with, how did you decide that Chicago was a feeder market for you? How did you find an agent in Chicago, and how did you develop that relationship?
That agent is someone who I've been networking with since for about a year and a half now. Just that I met, and I continue to develop that relationship. I know Chicago is a feeder market because I've analyzed the feeder markets. They're coming from California, Oregon, Seattle, the Midwest, but mostly Chicago, because Chicago has been a second home market to Scottsdale and Phoenix for a very long time. And now with the shift and with COVID, a lot of people are deciding to give up their homes in Chicago and make Scottsdale their primary residence, because they can work from home or for whatever reason. And so, and it's just what is happening. But developing that relationship is, once you have that relationship, once you meet someone, it's not a question of, oh, it's good to see you. I have a schedule of people that I connect with, when I've connected with them, what we talked about, and when I should be following up and seeing them again, and talking to them again and developing that relationship. It's also about going to visit. I mean, I jump on a plane now that we can. I'm traveling, and it seems odd that I'm a local agent who travels, but it's fun. And I'm developing relationships with people who not only will call me, but they'll tell other people to call me. So I'm spending a lot of money, but I'm having a good time for once in my life.
I think you've had fun for a while.
And what's really interesting is that when I was in my local market, you're competing with your agents in your local market. You can become friends with some of them, but there's no real business relationship going on. You're still competitors. And what I've found is when I started focusing on the Sotheby's International Realty Network as a source of business, what I've done is I've found the people who are like me, and I found the people that support me, that are looking for my success the same way I am and the same way I am for them. I connect and identify, and everyone has a different personality. So there are enough relationships in this network for everyone. I'm finding my people, and my people now are becoming really, really important to me, not only for business, but personally. They're really the best people I know, and now they're friends and we're business partners. So it's like I'm having the time of my life because I get to do what I like to do, and the business comes.
That's
I
awesome.
love it.
That's awesome. Krissy, it may seem obvious, and Brad was talking about how he identified his feeder markets and he analyzed where people are coming from. So it seems obvious that we should know where our feeder markets are, but break it down for us and say how you actually do that. How do you, on a daily, monthly, weekly basis, however, identify that, oh gosh, that's a market that I want to know more about?
Honestly, I am not as technical, and that is not that's not my approach. I probably should. It's a goal. I literally, one of the things I don't mean to change the subject, but I wanted to say something in addition to what Brad was talking about. It made me think. I think one of the things that people should remember, agents should remember, is the referral is really about the client and not the agent. So there's a little bit of cheerleading that kind of goes on online about, it's just be very cognizant, be very aware that there are different agents out there. I make an effort to meet multiple agents in various markets, especially the markets that that we feed back and forth or tend to share clients with. And their clients have such different personalities. Be very cognizant not to get caught up in the ego of or feeling loyal to one agent only. I recognize that we have a number of top agents in our office. I'm not getting all those referrals, nor should I. There are different personalities, and I think it's just like you nurture your relationship with your client. Be cognizant of your client and who might be a fit. That entails getting to know those agents, not just one meet and, oh, so-and-so always says, that agent or that's the star, or the popular, whatever. So I spend a lot of time meeting more people organically. I think when I go to things, or I'll pick up the phone and say to somebody who I've gotten to know, that person becomes a resource. So all my relationships become resources to more information. But I do think it's important to really be cognizant of the client and who's going to be a fit, because it's not going to work it's client first. So
I think you bring up a very good point, Krissy. And I think one of the things that I find when I work with partners in feeder markets or other markets, and I have a client who they're going to work with, I always let them know that I'm a part of this relationship. I'm a part of this transaction. I kind of relate it to football, say that I'm the quarterback. I have the running back and the wide receiver who are boots on the ground, know the market, know what they have to do, but I'm going to help call the play, because at the end of the day, that client of mine is very important. I want to make sure that it's a good experience. And so I feel that it's part of my role to help with any partner to ensure that they understand how to approach that client. What are the things that client likes? What are the things that they don't like? But then be there during the process. I feel that just handing off clients leads to potential issues where, to your point, to ensure that you don't run into that. And listen, I'm there if they need my help. I'm not, they're very capable at doing their job. They know the market. I know the client. So when they have questions of how to deal with the client, I'm here to help them. And I think that's an important part
I pick
as well.
a lot and do that, because you know the client more than whoever has that initial relationship. So I'm not constantly, but I do. I think that's part of what's important to serve the client best.
And I 100% agree with Krissy. There's not one agent in every market that's perfect for everyone, and it's important. This can get very political if you let it, and I don't. I build relationships with people. When I have a client that has a personality, I really look for the agent who is the right fit for that client, not just someone that I'm not going to be the right fit for every client in this market. There's no way. And no agent is a one size fits all. So it's really important to develop relationships and not get focused on, okay, I have one agent in this market and that's it, because sometimes it's just not a good fit. And sometimes there's an agent that just won't take the client that you have because it's just maybe not a big enough fish. And then you're scrambling to find somebody else. But if you know enough people, you don't have to scramble.
It goes back to show up at these. We have this amazing opportunity and this amazing network.
Exactly.
Show up.
Our job is to deliver the best possible customer experience possible. And when you're referring someone, you want to make sure that you know the personality of the client, you know the personality of the agent, and that agent is going to deliver that level of experience that you would deliver if they were your client.
That's going to lead us into the question I threw out early on in our warm-up session. Tell me about a time or something went south or went sour and what you did to solve the problem. You guys never had anything go south.
Oh no. Who's going to go?
Well, I think it really comes down to, again, and this is why I decided that it was very important to be a part of the process when I do have clients work in feeder markets or with other agents. It's about every client has their quirk or their personality. And I remember one of the first referrals I did down to the Florida market, and the agent was very capable, very knowledgeable, provided great advice, but needed help in managing the client because they just, the client was a little not he was he had his intricacies. He needed to know how to deal with them, and so he was getting upset. The agent was getting upset because she couldn't figure out how to manage that client properly and was trying her best. It was by no means a lack of effort. So I just found, what I said, the next time you go down to look at properties, let me go down with you. And, and with that, it allowed the agent to see how I dealt with the client and the relation. Again, it wasn't a quick sale, but it took about a year. So then after that time that I invested to go down, again, to Brad's point, it was a fun little trip. I got to spend time with my client, but the agent got to see how I managed my client, and that worked really well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Krissy, you're nodding.
Well, I thought so interesting. It was somebody called me and interviewed me from another market. He had got my name, didn't know me, but wanted to make sure I was the right fit, how much had I sold. So I passed all the tests and screens, and it's a very high net worth individual. And he was coming from Spain. And he asked to find, if I could find a rental for him to start. I wasn't quite sure what he wanted to do, and the rental was $2,100. And I said, and this was in COVID, and I said, or at the beginning, and I said, okay. And then so anyway, we went from 2,100 to he purchased something, and it was a lot more than what anybody thought he would, but he was not spending more than $3,500 on a rental, and he was only going to rent. And I thought, oh, I'm in trouble. And I did communicate. I went back and forth with the agent, and I said, he doesn't seem high net worth, which is fine, but I don't know how much I can help him in COVID. And so anyway, it was a process, and it was fine. I felt like I was failing him because I thought, I don't know what I've done wrong, but we got there. But again, teamwork.
So I'm hearing in both of those stories is staying in constant contact with that agent on the other side, and working with them and using them as a resource and being a resource for them. Does that sound about right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very important, I feel.
Yep.
Brad, how about you? Any time that something went south?
Are we talking about a referral situation?
Yeah.
Well, this is a story of sometimes you're just not the right fit. And I had a second referral from an agent in California who I know, like, and respect very much, who referred me clients. And it was not a good fit. Our thinking process, our way of doing business, my communication, and one of the couple's ability to take direction and understand the market and take my expertise wasn't there. And they fired me. And I graciously accepted that. And I didn't take it extremely personally. It hurt, but sometimes you're just not the right fit, and sometimes that's okay. So sometimes it's okay to not have a success story every time. So, and that's not my rule. That was an exception to my rule, but it was a sobering experience because, sometimes you just feel like, oh, I am the right fit for everyone. And I am, there's nothing I can do that's wrong. I'm invincible. And that, we all have flaws, and and we're not right for everyone.
What's sort of resonating with me, and we talked about this beforehand, the relationship is so important. Really investing in those relationships and owning those relationships. But the other thing that I'm hearing in the stories you're telling now is awareness. Being aware of yourself, of your own skills, and how they may mesh with your agents that you're working with, but also with clients that may be referred in. And when we were talking about how did you decide what your feeder market was? Brad said, I analyzed everything. I had a list, and I had this thing. And Krissy was, I don't do that. But what Krissy did say was coming out, she was aware of what her clients' needs are, of who her clients are as individuals, as human beings, what their interests are, what their likes are, where they are going on vacation or spending time. So I think that's a really key aspect to the feeder markets. And you three can tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I'll just, I did change the subject. I know my obvious feeder markets. But I know it from my experience, who's buying my properties, who's moving wherever they're moving, and it's California, Chicago, Florida. We didn't used to have Chicago. We didn't have in Chicago. So I started asking these clients coming to my listings, why are you moving? This is new. And they gave the political climate, they were shutting down the hedge fund because they couldn't recruit young people.
Right.
So it's a process for me, where as opposed to analyzing everybody's data. I am aware.
You are very aware.
but also, I think the other thing that you're saying, I think the other part that's important is to go to all these. You have to get out and go and meet people. It's not just a one and done, or you go to a G&E. Just show up, and you never know. An open house for a failed staff person could come back. I mean, you could meet people who you have a relationship with for a long time. So, and network, anything that's offered, if you can get there, go. Try to meet one person. Doesn't have to be a speed dating thing. It really, if you walk away with one or three good meetings or an awareness of another agent, you understand them and have a new relationship.
I think one other thing that I've found, and it kind of comes to your point of how do you develop those feeder markets and your relationships there. I've found it invaluable to have partners in the different feeder markets to help build their business together. And so what I've done a number of times is, for example, we do a lot of work at the Ritz-Carlton residences here in Toronto. And so I've kind of got a sense of where people have properties that own at the Ritz-Carlton and other areas. And I brought my partners from those areas up, and we have a wine event, and he just gets to meet people. And so together I'm helping him build his business. I'm benefiting by showing people that, there's a live person on the other, in that market. They're getting to meet them. I also do it with centers of influence. I work a lot with different wealth managers who have clients in a number of markets. I'll say, what markets do you want to learn about? And, would it be helpful? And then I'll ask my partners to come up and meet with them and give them updates. Again, it's face-to-face. It allows me to build a better relationship with that center of influence, and it allows a new introduction to that feeder market. So, I find a very smart person once told me the best way to develop business is to build your client's business. And then the referrals just keep coming. So that's a big part of my philosophy for feeder markets.
Terrific. So two things I've got on the remainder. Rebecca, how are we doing for questions?
We're doing well. One of the repeat questions, thanks to all of your encouragement, is when the next G&E will be. And please save the date for April 24th to the 26th of 2023. And the location will be announced later this year, but save those dates for the next G&E.
Perfect. And there are other networking events which you can learn about on access.sir.com as they come up. And you can always, as Andy was just saying, you can always create your own event.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait. You can go and create your own event within your feeder markets. And, it takes a little while, maybe it takes some time to build it, but, get out there and do it. Is there one thing you three would like the audience to know about you that's outside of your business life? What thing that would have interest? Andy?
Oh, goodness. My partner's laughing in the background here. I think one of the things I've really enjoyed traveling. And I think, Sotheby's has allowed me to travel a lot more, to meet some of the most incredible people, to see some of the most incredible real estate. So I know that's still business-wise, but that's one of the things that I really love. So.
Fantastic. Krissy, how about you?
Probably not as interesting, but I grew up riding horses, and as Andy's daughter did. That's how we connected on a call about equestrian properties. But I didn't go to school. All I did was compete, and I should have gone to school longer. But anyway, school of life competition. I do come towards everything within I have a competitive athletic, or I come from a sports analogy or perspective, and so anyway, I still go visit. I still have a lot of connections in that world. So it's the part of the business I do get equestrian farms and clients, and it's the part I love. It's the fun part. They're not easy to sell, those horse farms, but they're really, unless you're from Wellington. But
True.
but it's fun. So,
Brad, how about you?
The one thing about me that people may not know is that I really love to sing. And if I'm traveling, I will probably find a piano bar and you will find me there making a fool of myself.
Well, I have not heard you sing.
Mm.
In all the time we've known each other, I haven't heard you sing.
There's
So
always time, Robert.
I'm looking forward
There's
to the
al-
next G&E.
Okay, yeah, so am I.
Hopefully there's a piano bar. The reason I asked that question is because, and you've all spoken to this, there's more to a relationship than just the business. There's more to the relationship than just the numbers. So, and that's really, I think, what's important is understanding who people are at their core, so you can really make a good, solid connection with them. Think about this now, the three of you. Is there a market in the world, in the network, in the 79 countries we're in, that you would like to have a relationship that you don't have one now? Now, we've just gone into Egypt, Serbia, Ireland. We're in Singapore. We're in India.
I think Ireland would be a good one. I don't have a relationship in Ireland, and I got to get out and kiss the Blarney Stone. My grandfather gave me the gift of the gab.
Brad, how about you?
One of my favorite places on the planet is Sydney, Australia, and I really don't have a relationship with an agent in Sydney, Australia.
Awesome. Krissy?
I'm much more shallow. I would love St. Bart's. I love St. Bart's. I saw the office sign, but I was way too busy to the one trip I got this year with my horse friends, actually. But anyway, yeah.
Well, the good thing is
We're there.
we have someone in every one of those markets. I know two of those I can connect you with immediately. So watch for an email introduction from me. And one of them, I'm sure I have someone that's just not surfacing in my little agent brain. We're coming towards the end. Any thoughts you want to leave everyone with? Sort of last minute, words of wisdom. And if anyone in the audience reaches out to you, is that okay?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to help anyway. I think that, the brand, the network, and then the quality of people in the network is something that you have to get out and develop, because it truly is what sets you aside from any other brokerage in your market. I know it's what sets Sotheby's International Realty Canada aside from all the other brokerages here in Toronto. And it can really add to your revenue for next year. Every year I try to increase and separate, the amount of business I do locally versus the amount of business I do outside of Toronto. And I try to every year make that part of my business larger and larger and larger. To Brad's point, it can be very fun. You can meet incredible people, but you're really providing a much higher level of advice, and you're being that private banker for real estate for your clients. So that's my 2 cents.
Awesome.
Just show up. Just go. Don't make excuses. Don't put it off for next year. And whatever you can get. You don't have to do everything. You did everything. How would you run your business? It's a balance, but every time I've waffled and gone, I'm grateful. And you don't have to go the whole time. You just try to make it work, but try to show up and have the goal of, I want to be 2 people that will make a difference, or don't make it overwhelming.
Awesome.
And I would just say, start out slow and reach out to people who are just outside of your market, and start developing relationships with people who may be moving around in markets that you're in, your local markets. And then once you get hooked, it's like crack. You just keep going, go further and further until you're in Australia.
Feeder markets are whack.
Yes.
Well, we've hit our hour +1. I can't thank the 3 of you enough. You've been fabulous. I knew you would be, and I hope the audience has really gotten some out of it. We'll curate some of the questions that came up that we didn't get to, and we'll get some answers out there. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and we'll see you all soon in another masterclass.
Thank you.